Hi. Oh, Becki.
Michael?
Is that you on the couch across from me?
Right here.
Well, hello.
How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
It's great to see you.
It's so good. And you know what you are? Still ugly.
You are still ugly.
Thank you.
So ugly.
We have so much to discuss.
Really.
Okay.
Okay, that's enough.
What are we going to talk about today? Big stuff.
Today,
huge.
Well, big episode.
After Hours.
After Hours, which is eventually going to become the name of our web series spinoff.
So don't be confused. It's episode 108. It's After Hours. It was written by Dalen Rodriguez and directed by Jim Heyman. Fun fact, Dalen Rodriguez, the writer of this episode of Ugly Betty, is now the co-showrunner of Lincoln Lawyer.
Very cool.
Isn't that cool?
Very cool.
Like that.
What's she like?
She's so fun and so smart, and it all makes perfect sense. Even though those two shows feel like they have nothing in common.
Couldn't be more different.
There is a comedic element to Lincoln Lawyer, and she's a big part of that voice and the style and all of it. Like, she's great. I love her very much, and I'm so glad. I hadn't even put it together, but
there's so few people. I mean, last episode was directed by Jamie Babbitt, who I worked with again. But there's so few people that we worked with on this show.
That we've worked with again.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Dalen is one of them, and she's absolutely fantastic.
And it was directed by Jim Heyman, who directed many episodes.
He was a producing director, correct? Which is like someone who directs many.
Yes. And I noticed in this episode specifically that there's some really great Heymanisms.
Oh, Heymanisms. I like that.
That he really, we were, it's episode 8. We're in the thick of it, but it's still relatively fresh and new, and we're still figuring out the visual language of the show. And there's a great scene that I'm not even in where you see me. It starts on my face and my eyes, and I look to the left or something, and the camera follows my eyes, and the scene is actually behind me in Wilhelmina's office.
So that was a Heymanism?
Total Heymanism.
Because they used your eyes in general are so expressive, but this show, and maybe that's when it started, love to, it's like when something suspicious was going on, we were often led to it through your eyes.
It's so interesting.
It's cool.
I think this was the first time they did that. It was also, I love, because I have a big pet peeve on TV shows when you see sets. Like, for example, when you see the donut and the tube and you're not there and Amanda's not there.
Yeah.
Because you're not in the scene. It's just a scene that takes place in that area.
Right.
It always bugs me.
Yeah, it's like, where is she? Why wouldn't she be sitting there?
And the same thing when there's a scene in Wilhelmina's office and you can see that Marc is not at his desk. It's annoying.
Yeah.
It bugs me. And I obviously, he's somewhere else. He's doing something.
Somewhere else, but you're right. Why is that desk empty?
Right. Sometimes.
As an actor, though, if you had been called in just to sit there, how would you have felt? Honest.
Well, I remember at the time, back in the day when we were still puppies, and this was new to us, I remember thinking, I want to be called. I want to be there.
I feel like you've always been that way. That's what's amazing. You're like, bring me to work. I want to be there.
I want to be there.
It there.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I probably would have come up with something and made them shoot something, and it would have wasted time, and they wouldn't.
No, it would have ended up in. It would have been amazing.
But this was a scene I'm not in.
Yeah.
And Jim said, "I want you in this scene," and I'm going to start. I didn't have any lines. It just started on my face, and then it. And
that's so cool because it does. You have to connect the people in the office, even if we're not in the scenes. You want to know that we're all there. We all work at the same time.
Totally. And and the geography of the office was so, I mean, it's not entirely clear. I mean, it's funny because I remember the geography so vividly.
I do too, but you don't know it from watching the show.
You don't necessarily know it from watching the show.
Like what's left and right and to
right.
an
but
office.
You do know that Marc sits
in front of Wilhelmina's
office. And when he's not there, you notice. And when you're not in the tube or when you're not in the donut, you notice. So we want to make sure that you all know that you can like and subscribe to our podcast, Still Ugly. And you can watch it on YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, we look real cute.
We do look real cute.
Ugly, but cute.
In this episode, everyone goes out on the town. Betty brings Walter to a hotel in Soho. Daniel and Sofia play pool.
And Wilhelmina and I get dragged to a shocking honky-tonk bar by a wealthy Texas businessman.
Betty's sister Hilda asks for money from an old flame, a bad boy who's also Justin's father.
And back in the office, Betty discovers she might have a new ally in Sofia. I love that the way they tease Santos. So the great character of Santos, Kevin Alejandro.
So dreamy.
Super sexy.
Just so dreamy.
And
And he and Hilda were good together.
Yeah, they had a real good chemistry.
Yes.
Those two actors, I mean, he's a great actor. But they tease him out. You don't know who he is. I had forgotten that they do that in this episode. You don't know that he's Justin's father until like ways
because
into
no one
it.
ever really brought up Justin's parentage. What's the word? Like who his father was. It like didn't come. Is parentage a word or did I just make that?
No, that's a word.
Okay. Parentage.
Parentage.
So
That's a word. That's a Shakespeare. It's in Shakespeare.
Really?
So it must be true.
Must be real. Did you learn that Juilliard?
Yep.
So
thank you for mentioning it.
It's this surprise of like also that they do have such good chemistry. What went wrong? Like it's instantly you want to know everything about it.
Yeah.
I always felt like the show did that. You'd like drop this little nugget in. It's like, I didn't even know I had to know all the details about this. That's such a great storytelling mechanism or whatever you want to call it. This idea of like this little droplet of something makes you have 100 more questions about it.
Yeah.
So cool.
What's cool also, and you guys listening might know this about television, and we often credit Silvio so much for the soul of the show and the spirit of the show. But we had an amazing there was amazing writing staff.
Yes.
That worked with him, including Dalen.
How many were there at once?
Cameron Litvak wrote the last episode. There was always like 10 or 12.
I want to say a big room. So there would be this huge room.
Of varying people, totally different kinds of people.
All different people, and they would all work together, and there were always like boards with different storylines, and they would pitch ideas. I mean, I always imagine, I wish I could be a fly on the wall in one of those rooms.
I know.
That would be amazing.
And they each episode had usually one writer credited to it, but they really wrote it together.
So why did one get? Is it like one was in charge of the umbrella of the whole thing?
I think it's a union thing, but I also think that that one sort of took the lead.
Okay.
One writer sort of takes the lead and does a draft, and then everybody gets in and
so it's like you get all
it.
the credit if it goes well and all the blame if it goes badly.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, wait. So what happens in this episode?
Well, in this episode, Sofia Reyes, played by Salma Hayek, back in action.
Oh, amazing.
Once again, gets wet. They take every chance they can
gets wet.
to wet her.
To wet her.
She gets coffee spilled on her and has to take off her shirt.
And now she gets wet.
And now the sprinklers go off. And so all of her staff move into the mode conference room.
And Sofia asks Betty for her input on an article about sexaholics. And Daniel's convinced she's trying to flirt.
Because he's a narcissist.
Yes.
He thinks it's all about him.
And it's also such a funny thing, like Betty discussing sexaholic. Like, like the always they found a way to give Betty this sort of content that is funny on her somehow, right? Like on Sofia Reyes, she's talking about an article about sexaholics. Basically, Daniel's drooling. Like it's just funny the way like the content itself, how people bumped against the content.
The scene in this episode where Daniel says to Betty that he's sure it's about him.
Yeah.
America plays it so well. She's like, really? She's so funny in that episode where she's like, you think that's about you? So great.
She wants me.
Excuse me?
Well, you were there. You saw it, right?
I didn't really pick up on it.
Oh, come on. Sexaholics? That was clearly a jab at me. She gave her the article because she knew I'd see it.
Daniel, you think maybe you're reading just a little bit too much into this?
No. Trust me, I know women.
Now, Daniel is short-staffed, needs someone to write a review of this new hotel, and so he gives the assignment to Betty, which is really exciting.
It's a big get, but she was supposed to go to Atlantic City with Walter.
Yes, because he had tickets to the real staged version of The Price is Right that plays.
Oh, sweet, sweet Walter.
And he's just got mad Plinko skills.
That's so funny.
So fun having Kevin Sussman.
So, but this also, it just sort of reminds everyone that Betty's she's in this conflict with Walter. There's the Walter's world and then this new world that she's part of. And this episode shows that really well, where she ends up going to this hotel out of her element.
Yeah.
Wanting to enjoy it and explore it, but Walter's presence is...
Yeah. I'd sort of forgotten they were still together.
Yeah, I think this is when they were on their way out. This is one of the
one of those things where they just
It was just super clear.
Well, he accuses her of trying to be different than she is. And I mean...
And it's sort of like old world, new world, right?
Yeah.
It's like the person you dated in high school, if you met them again later in life, would you still date them?
Right.
I don't know.
So the Suarezes need money, and Hilda goes after it with Santos, and that's the first time we hear about that.
Yes, and we find out he's also Justin's father.
Meanwhile, Wilhelmina is forced to entertain Ted LeBeau of Beaumart, which is like a Walmart kind of a. He has a chain of discount. What do you call it? Stores?
Bargain clothing stores.
Oh, bargain clothing. Yeah. Oh, there it is right there in the notes.
A chain of bargain clothing stores. And he's considering an ad buy in Mode. And Ted appreciates the Texas touches in her office and insists they discuss their offer over dinner.
Yeah, so Marc and Wilhelmina deck out her office with all
Texan touches.
These big old 10-gallon hats and a giant longhorn. And this is I'm from Texas.
Yes.
Marc is not. So when we were setting up the office to impress Ted LeBeau, Marc is obviously like not comfortable with all these Texas things, but I was.
Right.
And there's a longhorn, like an actual longhorn, like the horn.
Yes.
That I put on a shelf. And when Ted LeBeau comes in, he's like, Longhorn, you must be from UT because University of Texas is the Longhorns.
Right.
And she says, no, I'm not. But Marc went to UT. And I go, yeah, go Longhorns. And I did intentionally this because the Longhorn, this is Longhorns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which is just like your pointer and your pinky up.
Yeah.
Not I love you, but Longhorn.
Right.
You know? So it's like not I love you, son. Anyway, I did this.
Because you knew that Marc
wouldn't know.
So you a fan of college ball?
Excuse me?
Longhorns. You went to UT Austin.
Oh, no, Marc did.
Yes, I did. It was so Southern. Go Longhorns. Yay.
Brilliant. Did anyone notice on the day?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Isn't that funny?
I don't remember. But I love Brett Cullum, this actor. He was so great.
He was great.
Excuse me.
And
Brett
everyone,
Cullum.
do you remember when we were filming this? Everyone wandered around going, Ted LeBeau. I don't know why.
LeBeau.
It was just like a perfect
so
name
funny.
for him. Isn't that fun? We were all, I think it's because of how Wilhelmina said it. So Vanessa was like, and Ted LeBeau. So we just wandered around saying that, even as I repeat it.
It's so funny. It's
one of those things that was very funny.
Ted LeBeau. Okay, so they're gonna go have dinner, and he's gonna take them out. Betty gets to the hotel, but she's obviously now. This is something else that's really so. Once again, in the last episode, we saw the tube. The Mode tube, the hallway at Mode, repurposed as
I know what you're going to say.
as Faye Summers' crypt.
Yeah.
In this episode, we see what is very clearly a Mode office being repurposed
as a hotel.
As the hotel.
Yeah.
And it's great.
It works.
Again, they were not giving Marc Worthington any money for the budget. That's what's clear here is he didn't have any money
to make a hotel room.
And so he had to use a piece. And this happens a lot during the show where he uses an empty office in the Mode set.
Because we had many. There were many empty offices.
He would use an empty office in the Mode set and turn it into
whatever else. A dentist's office, a hotel room.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to give props to an actor in this scene. Do you remember the actor who plays the hotel clerk?
No.
He's really funny.
What's his name?
I don't know.
We should find out.
Let's find out and give him a shout out. But he was really great. I thought it was a really funny scene. And remember she sits in that funny little chair and it falls off.
Yes.
So funny. Brian Oakes.
Let's find him.
Shout out to you, Brian Oakes.
Get him on
you did such a great job.
And
that was obviously shot in an actual lobby of a hotel.
Yeah, but this idea of Betty fish out of water, the thing they keep getting back to is like, it's almost like even when Betty's okay being a fish out of water, the people around her are not. Like Walter. Walter's like, you're being so different. She's just as she's new to it all. She's trying to fumble her way through it. He's not okay with it, but is accusing her of not. Like, you're changing, you're different.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. So I always think it's interesting the way it's like Betty's being accused of being different, but it's really just the people around her that refuse to be open.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
It's true. They're also, when she's showing Ted LeBeau around the office, the tube art
Wait, did it change?
It changed. It's like a Texas and New York thing. It's like the Statue
was that
of
Mark
Liberty.
Worthington?
Always.
So people didn't realize that like the artwork always changed.
Or maybe that was the art director. Maybe that's an art direction thing.
Either the idea that was like every detail, the things that you almost don't even
Remember
notice.
Archie, the art director?
I do remember Archie.
So good.
Still with us? Yes, still with us, right?
Still ugly?
Still ugly? I don't know. We're going to find out.
More Still Ugly after these words from our sponsors. Still there? We're still ugly.
The scene with Betty and Walter at the fancy restaurant is so funny and so adorable. Also, that waiter is great in that scene.
But that Walter, yet again, like wanting a cheeseburger, wanting the same, wanting old stuff.
I want
like,
real food, Betty!
And like just not.
What about they're eating like foam and air? I gotta say, I've been to some fancy restaurants in my day, and that sounded nuts.
I remember Chris and I went to a fancy restaurant when Ugly Betty started. Like, we were like, let's go celebrate. And we went to this French restaurant and they served us. And I'm sure many listeners will say that sounds delicious. I'm not judging anyone who thinks this is delicious, but someone brought over something in a beaker, in little beakers, like 4 beakers, and it was yellow. And I thought, oh, maybe that's like custard or flan. And they're like, this is egg yolk beaten with sugar, and you drink it. And I was like, I don't want to.
It sounds like urine.
It looked gross. It smelled gross, but I was told it was fancy. And there were all these little courses of things in weird jars. And we ate it all because we're like, wow, this is so nice. And on the way home, we're like, do you kind of want to vomit? Because I do. It was just like so much.
So rich.
But it was so fancy.
Yeah.
But it was that moment of like, I'm told this is fancy. Even as I want to vomit as they're describing it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what fancy people eat. This must be amazing. I wouldn't go back to that restaurant.
I mean, also, sometimes you just want to get full.
Or sometimes like you just want to like recognize what you're eating, right? So when you're like, my food's in disguise in sort of scientific hardware, I'm like, it's hard for me to connect.
I always kind of feel at a nice restaurant, I always feel like Melissa McCarthy in Spy. Remember when she plops there's like a little towel wrapped up and she eats it. She tries to eat it and they're like, that's to warm your hands.
Do you remember recently when we went to a fancy restaurant and ate 15 different kinds of steak? Do you remember Chris?
So good.
That was really good.
That was after your family all came to see Once Upon a Time.
Amazing show. Oh my gosh.
Really great restaurant.
Right across the street. It was the best thing in my kids' life. They were like, we went to a fancy restaurant with Michael Urie, star of the show.
But nothing came that I didn't recognize at that restaurant.
It was many kinds of meat.
Lots of meats.
Lots of meat. There was nothing in a beaker and there was nothing hidden.
Super
it was like,
carnivore.
Give me all the meat. Okay, wait. He buys her team Indian food. They play pool. The sexual tension heats up.
I love the scene where he tries to eat the Indian food and it's really, really spicy. And he's like, how can you eat this? And she goes, I'm Mexican. So funny.
It's also cute the way they always wrote Daniel as a little bit fumbling. Like he's this like sexy ladies man, but he like can't handle a hot pepper. Okay, wait, what else? Santos gives Hilda the money for Ignacio in exchange for her letting him see Justin.
Yeah.
That's big. Like this is clearly the father hasn't been in Justin's life. So the decision to allow it is a big one.
And you can tell it's really sweet and very sad. You can just sort of tell that like Justin, like there's a part of him that obviously wants a relationship with his father, but it's never worked.
Yeah.
And it's been nothing but disappointment and they couldn't be more different.
Right. But it's like they've never gotten past there's never been something past. And who knows, maybe this is opening up something for the future.
And of course,
we shall see.
Papi, Ignacio, does not want
Of course, it sounds like, and I don't think we ever get the full backstory, but clearly Hilda was let down and Papi doesn't want that happening again, whatever that was. Who knows?
But he comes through with the money.
Yes, he does.
I love the motorcycle ride that Sofia takes Daniel on a motorcycle ride, then they play pool and they end up making out.
Love. Pretty sexy.
So sexy.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that stuff. She was so hot.
Yeah. Betty apologizes to Walter for telling him he doesn't belong in fancy hotels. Walter admits he's afraid of losing her. She tells him he won't lose her as long as he supports her.
Yeah,
so again, this conundrum of like, support me. Don't be scared of me changing.
Right.
But at the same time, you kind of see the writing's on the wall to me at this point of like, there's no world where Betty gets to fly and Walter is okay with it.
Yeah.
To me, the writing was on the wall. Don't you think?
Of course.
We didn't think she was going to marry Walter at this point.
No, I don't think so. But she does leave the hotel. She doesn't stay the night in the hotel. She goes to him.
Right. Which is interesting, right?
yeah.
That she's like...
And she's like, I brought your hamburger, but I ate half of it, and it was really good. That's so funny.
Perfect. Perfectly delivered, too.
Now, did we get to the point where Santos doesn't show? So he doesn't show. He says he's going to come. And
then we find out later.
And she goes looking for him.
And at first it's this feeling of like, oh, he's just flaking. But he shows up later all bloody.
Beat to hell.
Yeah. And
because that money that he gave her was supposed to go to his bookie.
So
this is why you should never get involved in illegal gambling, friends.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think that's a generally good note.
I just don't like those people, they get violent.
Well, the other part to this is the complexity of Santos did intend to give the money, but the money wasn't coming from the right place. But it wasn't that he didn't intend to give it, right? He wasn't lying. He wanted to give the money. He wanted to get it back. He wanted to be there for Hilda.
Yeah.
So,
well, he gives her the money.
Right. But then he gets beat up for it.
Because he doesn't have it. And that money that he gives
it's
her.
like, it's not good money. It's
dirty money.
My point is, it's all effing complicated all the time. And they always did that.
Whoa, Becki.
What? Flying with the effing?
That was so crass.
I'm so sorry. Okay, wait. So Betty apologizes, and we hope he's going to support her. I don't think that we'll see where that goes. Wilhelmina and Ted have drinks at a honky-tonk bar. Late in the night, Wilhelmina gets a call from Nico, leading Wilhelmina and Ted to bond over having teenage daughters. Ted agrees to the ad buy, and the next morning, he sends Wilhelmina some white cowboy boots.
And her face, this was. There's so many beautiful moments in this episode, but I have to say, Wilhelmina, the face she makes when she gets those boots from him, that was sort of my waterworks moment. I was so touched.
That was my waterworks moment.
I was so touched that she's like, it was nice to see her genuinely happy and surprised.
And surprised. And like another color on her. Just this like giddy and young and happy and sweet. Like, I had that same feeling. That's our waterworks moment. We're giving it away.
The moment where Marc ends up at the honky-tonk bar, I think is so funny.
Anytime Marc ends up anywhere, it's funny. Like you in every single environment, the more wrong, the more right.
There's like a G-string that ends up on my shoulder.
Like,
and I don't see it at first. I was like, God, that's funny. They just like, and I'm so glad, like, this is when I started, I think this is like, there's no reason Marc is in this scene.
But I think Jim Heyman directing it was like basically put Marc anywhere, especially with Wilhelmina, but anywhere. And the scene's even funnier.
It was so cool. It was, and then he does leave. She excuses him. She's like, "You can leave, darling." And I say, "Thank you, I love you." Something like that.
The thank you is always funny.
Yeah.
Because Marc's discomfort in environments is also very funny.
Totally.
Right? Like Wilhelmina can sort of go anywhere, blend in anywhere, vibe anywhere. Marc tries to and thinks he's succeeding, but that's
he's just afraid of a lot. She's not afraid
of everything.
There's a very funny moment, right? The moment when he leaves is when a scantily clad woman. Well, first of all, the menu is on her little tank top.
Right.
She's like, "Do you have any food?" And she comes over and shoves her boobs in his face.
Yeah.
And she says, "Read that." And then another woman lays on the table in front of them and puts a shot of tequila on her stomach, and that's how you're supposed to take the shot. And Marc doesn't do it, and that's when she excuses him. But then Wilhelmina does a shot.
I believe it.
And there's an incredible shot of Vanessa taking a big old shot off of a woman's stomach, and right behind her is a sort of fake Confederate flag.
Oh, God.
So, beep, beep, racism alert. But,
racism alert.
But,
beep, beep.
beep, beep. What else happens?
I think that's kind of...
Oh, the review. So she writes this review. She ultimately writes this review, and it's
Daniel
beautiful
tells
and
her it is not mode enough to be published.
Which, how did he not see that coming?
Yeah.
Like, didn't he know that
she didn't have necessarily experience with hotels in order to review it?
Yeah, like...
Was it one of those, like, many moments where you're sort of setting Betty up for failure? Or did he think, or at this point, did he think she's proven enough that her voice is unique, so therefore interesting? Yeah.
A little bit of a plot hole.
A little bit, yeah.
But then the good news is he's not going to print it, but Sofia is.
Yes.
And there's that fantastic scene where Betty's sat in the bathroom.
And
I wonder how maybe Daniel gave it to her, actually. Maybe Daniel gave Sofia the article.
You think?
Well, how else would she have gotten it?
I don't know. That's one of those. I don't think Daniel would have said, "Here, read this article that I rejected."
Well, it might be for you.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think he's benevolent in that way. I think it was like, we're just not going to print it. I'm sure she had her ways. Who knows how she got it, but she got it.
She gets it, and she says, I'm printing it.
And it was such a cool moment,
And
visually too. Like visually, the two of them together in the bathroom, in the mirror.
And she says, you are a confident, attractive businesswoman. And then that's when we realize, oh, this is the mantra that Betty walked in with, and this is a real hero of hers.
Yeah.
And then she slaps her on the ass.
Amazing.
And says, I'm printing it. So good.
Amazing.
I love that. I'm sure that was
improv.
I'm sure that was Selma just like
Of
doing
course.
it. And the look on America's face.
So good.
You did read my book.
I did.
I thought your article was terrific.
You liked it?
I loved it. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm running your article in my magazine.
Another thing that happens in this, when Santos doesn't show up, and then he does finally show up very, very late, and he's all busted, Hilda is sympathetic and invites him to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And when she tells the next morning, she tells Justin, this is my favorite part of the episode, she says, we have a surprise guest coming for Thanksgiving. And he says, Martha Stewart, I won the contest?
Oh.
Which is two jokes in one.
Yeah.
I always love a two joke in one. That he had applied to a concert, submitted to a contest.
Martha Stewart.
It was for Martha Stewart to come to your Thanksgiving dinner. So funny.
So funny.
So good.
And also a very almost serious moment, but a huge joke. Like her revealing to her son that her son's father's coming to Thanksgiving is a very poignant moment. So to throw in that joke there, it's brilliant to me.
Yes, so
it's
good.
like they were never afraid to mix in so much comedy in even the most serious moments.
Totally. Yeah. Well, should we talk about look? We mentioned Waterworks.
We did.
For both of us, it was that sweet, sweet face on Wilhelmina
when she gets her special boots.
She gets her special boots, and this guy that she dreaded meeting is maybe going to be someone special for her. What about the looks? I remember you had some real short shorts.
My shorts were short. You know, I do love, and this one is going to be all the cowboy boots. Do you know that I love cowboy boots?
Yes, I do.
It's semi-recent, but I
do.
love
Well, you're kind of wearing boots now. They're not
but
cowboy.
generally, like, I think cowboy boots are so cool.
Cowboy
And it's
boots are
so
great.
not mode. So there was something about those two worlds colliding
And those
in
big
this
old
episode.
hats.
It's just cool. And I think it's so manufactured by Wilhelmina, but also like cool and fun. And I thought that like through line visually was really neat for this episode.
And she's wearing something from Beaumart.
Right.
There's a great
Beaumart.
that great moment where she's like, "This is the best thing I could find from Beaumart," and he comes and Ted LeBeau comes in and says he's never seen it look so good, which is great. I also love Betty wears her prom dress to this 3-star restaurant.
Oh.
It's so sweet, and it's such a like and he's wearing. Walter shows up in a t-shirt and she's like, you can't wear a t-shirt to a 3-star restaurant. And he says, rock stars wear t-shirts to 3-star restaurants. She's like, you're not a rock star.
Oh.
Meanwhile, she's wearing her prom dress.
I know. So it's like all these people trying to figure out which version of appropriate is appropriate. I just fell asleep in the middle of my sentence. Okay, wait, do you want to play a game?
I would love to play a game.
Let's play a game.
What should
I'm
we
a
play?
little nervous. Okay, Michael, it's time for a game. In this episode, we get to see these characters a little bit out of their comfort zone. Is there an environment that maybe seems out of your comfort zone, but you actually like?
Oh, good question. You know what I did recently that I never thought I would like?
What?
I went to a music festival, which I never thought I would be into.
So like bands playing.
Yeah, big old space.
Wander around.
You wander
listen
around
to that band,
outdoor.
listen to that band.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it was music that is not necessarily my go-to. I don't even know how you would describe it, but I had the best time.
What was fun about it?
Well, that you could wander and hear music.
Sounds fun. Sounds about right.
Food was fun. The food was fun. And the people were cool. There's something about, because living in New York, being a busy person, being somebody who goes to events a lot, so often it's like, what time are we getting there and what time are we leaving?
Yes.
And this was like, just, you're there for the day.
And you
it was-
ramble and
you just wander and people sit and lay down, fall
sounds
asleep.
very college. It sounds very like college.
Yeah. It was, so that was something that I like to know when we're leaving, when we're getting there,
Yeah,
I mean,
right, yeah.
of course. And what time does the show start? And like also, I go to so much theater.
Right. It's all about the time and the schedule. And
Right.
you know exactly
Right.
where the train's going at all
And
times.
I don't like crowds. I don't like to wait in line. So like I usually roll in right and I know that everything starts late on Broadway, so I'll show up 5 minutes late, But this was like we just hang out all day, and it was really fun.
That's cool.
I had a blast. What about you?
So
Outside of your comfort zone is
skiing? Like I keep
Whoa.
thinking, do you know that I've never skied down a hill in my life?
I've never gone skiing.
Really? We should go. You and I should go skiing together. So it's the
Bring
kind
a
of
camera
thing.
crew.
No, it's the kind of thing where, like, if you've never done it, like, when's the right age to admit I've not? Because I'll be on the bunny slope with like 4-year-olds. Like, if
You've done that?
No, I'm saying that's where I would have to start.
Right.
So the longer life goes on that I've never gone skiing, the weirder I think it is that I've never gone skiing. But I do think I'd have fun skiing down a ski slope. I also don't love being cold, but I would wear a snowsuit.
It's also like really dangerous.
Really?
Skiing
that's
is
why I've
really,
never done
really
it.
dangerous.
That's why I've never done it.
People die skiing.
Well, so let's not go.
Celebrities,
Should I pick a different
especially
place?
celebrities.
They do? Are they particularly vulnerable?
I think so.
They might be right. So maybe that isn't something I actually would like. Let's take that off the table. So out of my comfort zone that I actually like. I'm a pretty comfort zone based kind of person.
You are very.
I like what I like.
You kind of create comfort zones everywhere you go.
Everywhere I go is a comfort zone. So,
Yeah, so out of your-
maybe I'd like to go to your music festival with you sometime. Will you
Sure.
invite me? We'll wander around.
I would love that. I mean, I've only been to the one,
Let's go to another one.
but I'll go to another one.
Done.
Okay, great.
So here's what we're going to do. We'll take turns. I'm going to give you 3 things from the episode, and you're going to put those 3 things in order in your head. And the order is what you like the most to what you like the least. And once you've got your order, I'm going to try to guess and see how well I know you. So get this. I'm going to give you 3 things. You're going to put them in order. What you like the most, what you like the least, and I'll see if I know it. Here are your 3 things.
Got it. Okay, here we go.
Okay. You're taking a weekend to relax. What is your preference between these 3 options? Preference in order. Best to least. A weekend at a swanky Soho hotel. A weekend at a casino in Atlantic City. A weekend where you stay in and cook.
You're gonna guess what my order is?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I have my
Can I
order.
just ask one question?
Yeah.
Are you alone? Are you with someone? I like to ask questions about my questions. So the idea is you're by yourself at these in your mind, or you're with someone? You pick. I pick you're by yourself.
By myself?
Yep. So you're by yourself. Do you want to stay at a week? Do you want to be at a swanky hotel, at a casino in Atlantic City? Do you want to stay in and cook? I'm going to go with, if you're by yourself, Soho Hotel, stay in and cook, casino in Atlantic City.
100%. That's the order.
Because who wants to go to a casino by themselves? That sounds kind of depressing.
Well, by the way,
Right?
if you'd said I was with someone, that would have been the same order.
Right, but I needed to clarify to make
Yes.
me win.
I actually just spent a few days at a hotel alone
Did you like it?
to unwind, and I did like it.
Yeah, I
It
can
was
see that.
really, really nice.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a cook, but staying home and cooking is lovely.
Do you remember when I had Dorothy and you came over and we just stayed home and cooked?
Yes,
And
well,
held
you
the baby.
cooked,
You
and
held
I
the
held the
baby.
baby. Of
That
course
was the
I
best.
remember
I'll
that.
never forget that.
Oh
We
my
had the best
God.
time.
I want that again. You made
She
a big
didn't
chicken.
move for 8 hours on you.
She was, and that's why she has my hair.
Yep. That was the moment
But
she
by
got
the
the
way,
curls.
I've been to Atlantic City only one time, and
Was
I
that
went.
enough for you?
It was absolutely enough. I went for a Barry Manilow concert,
Right.
which is something I love to do, and that concert was fantastic.
So the concert was worth it. Atlantic City,
Everything before and after the concert was not.
not for you.
And
You're a cozy homebody kind
But
of
I like Vegas. I mean, I have some fun in Vegas, but
Yeah.
Atlantic City is.
not for you. Okay.
The boardwalk was very pretty, but the casino stuff in Atlantic City was a different level of.
Sad.
Yeah, and I don't know, that's like there's something about
I don't know why I'm laughing.
I don't want to get into listen, I love New Jersey and I love people from New Jersey.
No. Oh, God.
There is something about the people who end up at the Atlantic City Casino that's very different than the people at a casino in Las Vegas are from all walks of life, all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a real I feel like it's a real melting pot of degenerate gamblers from all over the world. This was degenerate gamblers from one part of the world.
Okay.
But it was also the drinking. And I like to drink, but this was like some serious drinking.
Okay.
Major drunks.
Oh.
Which made the concert great.
I was going to say, so like drunk Barry Manilow fans?
That was actually really fun. The concert was great.
But your experience
But he was in control.
Okay.
It wasn't, they were respecting him. But there was, at one point, someone tried to hand him a baby.
Who was drunk at a Barry Manilow concert with a baby?
I don't know. But she tried to hand him
What did he do? Was
a
it like
baby.
not it?
He said hello and he waved. And then I saw him afterwards because I know him, and we're pals. And I saw him afterwards and I was like, what about that baby? And he was like, that's never happened to me before.
Yeah, but I just want to know who's singing in the audience and is like, take the baby.
Here, take my baby, Barry Manilow.
I have a lot of questions. I have some follow-ups for that one.
More Still Ugly after this short break. Still there? We're still ugly.
Okay, now it's my
I
turn.
guessed correctly.
Okay, my turn.
What's mine?
Becki, you're having dinner with friends. What is your preference between these three options? Number 1, Indian takeout. Number 2, Texas barbecue. And number 3, a fancy restaurant with things like foie gras foam.
Am I by myself? Oh, wait, no, you said with friends.
No, you're with
Am I eating by myself?
You're with friends.
Okay. Okay, so tell me the 3 again.
Indian takeout.
Yes.
Texas barbecue.
Okay.
A fancy restaurant with things like foie gras foam.
Go. What do you think?
Do you have your answer?
I do.
You have your order?
I do.
I'm going to say Texas barbecue, Indian takeout, fancy restaurant.
Okay. So my first one was actually takeout because that goes back to the be cozy at your house.
Uh-huh.
So it was more of the
But
idea.
Indian takeout?
I love any takeout.
Okay.
But I wasn't really worried about the Indian takeout part. It was more like, the idea of takeout.
Great, it could be anything.
So that's number 1, but not because of Indian cuisine being my favorite.
Sorry.
But okay, so I've explained it. I like to explain choices.
Thank you. No, I'm glad you did.
And definitely the barbecue restaurant next. Definitely.
Yeah.
And then 3rd, foie gras.
Okay, so I was wrong.
No, but you were wrong. You were right. We just you were right, but because I didn't qualify that.
Specifically the cuisine.
The being home
because
part
of all the
takeout.
meat. And I know how you like.
I like it.
I
Well,
like
my
it.
husband eats a lot of meat. I just
Indian
eat
food has
whatever's on the
meat.
table. Yeah.
There's,
I just like dinners in general.
Actually,
I like
Indian isn't much meat.
Yeah, it can. It can be. I think we have a lot of options there.
Indian food's really good. Now I'm getting so
We
hungry.
need to go out to eat soon.
Okay, now it's your turn.
One more, okay.
No, wait, two more.
Michael, you want to have a good time. What is your preference between these 3?
Such a good line reading. You want to have a good time.
A Swedish massage, playing pool, or taking shots? Tell me when you have your order.
I have my order.
Okay, I'm going to say it is that order. And I like to qualify why.
Okay.
Because based on how much theater you have done, I know your body hurts. So I think you need a Swedish massage. That's why I put that at number 1. Playing pool, social. I don't think you love pool, but you'd have fun and you can take shots while you play pool. And then number 3, taking shots for no reason. Yay, that's fun, but depends where. So that was my thinking. Did I get them all wrong?
No, the Swedish massage is correct, but I would take shots before I would play pool.
Okay.
Although they do go hand in hand a lot.
That's why I like to pick the one where you can do the other one too.
Yes.
Is it weird to explain your choices before you even say them? I think it's weird. I feel like I have a lot to say about why. I want you to understand why. It's
more that I can't get a word in edgewise. I also don't like playing pool. I'm not a huge winner-loser game kind of a person.
Yeah, I don't care.
I'm not really competitive.
Me too.
I always think, why are we doing a thing where someone's going to lose?
Oh, interesting.
When we could do something where we all win. But
I like that.
That's
very
but
inclusive of
I
you.
know that I'm in the minority. Most people like to play games. And most people are competitive. But I also have cerebral palsy of the fourth nerve in my left eye. And so focusing on a pool cue is actually quite difficult. So I'm also terrible at pool because I can't see. I'm also not good at ping pong, tennis, or pickleball for that reason.
But don't you play pickleball on your show?
That's all fake. Yeah.
None of that's you?
It is me, but it's cut. So you're not seeing that I'm actually not good at pickleball.
Okay, last one.
Becki, you are going to receive one of these things as a gift.
I get to pick one now. Okay, one.
Well, no. Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's still the order.
Okay,
same rules.
Okay, same rules. Here we go.
See, this is, I don't love games.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm like so stressed out.
We don't like winning. We don't like losing. We don't like games, but let's play a game
Every time.
Okay. In what order? A bag of jelly beans, a fancy bottle of whiskey, or a pair of white cowboy boots? I know exactly. This is easy.
You know the order.
It's so easy.
Cowboy boots, jelly beans, whiskey. Yes. That was the easiest.
That's so good.
Okay, thank you for that. We know each other very well.
Good game.
Good game. Okay, wait. Fan questions. This is my favorite part.
We love our fans. We love fan questions. This time is called "Can I Help You?" And listener, viewer, if you want to send us a question or a comment or whatever, you can do it. Ask us for advice, maybe a dirty secret. You can email us.
Yes, you can email us at stilluglypodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave a message at 347-480-1821.
Standard
messaging rates.
Do they even say that anymore on American Idol?
No, we're 90. That's why.
Okay, this is very exciting. This episode, we have a caller. From New York named Sam.
What's up, Sam?
Are you there, Sam?
Not there.
Hi.
Hi.
Sam,
oh my gosh, it worked.
Oh my gosh. Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good, Sam. What's happening?
So here's my question. Betty seems like someone who just wants to feel seen and understood. And we also find her at a time when she's very career oriented. And when Betty tells Walter that he won't lose her as long as he supports her, it sort of reminded me of something I've been thinking about off and on in my dating life while balancing my career and creative pursuits. I also really value feeling truly seen, and as someone who is a creative, I write, I love all aspects of filmmaking. I'm such a creative, and so sometimes I struggle with how much importance do I place on someone doing similar things to me so that I feel really understood and seen, versus someone who may be doing something completely different, but they're just very supportive of me.
That's such an interesting
It's a great question. My immediate response, and I have not been in the dating world in 5,000 years, is that it doesn't matter if somebody necessarily likes what you likes. The most important thing is that they say, you do you. Does that make you happy? Great. I love knitting. I spend a lot of time making dolls. My husband has no interest, and his eyes start to glaze over when I start talking about it. But he's so happy that it makes me happy that I think that falls into that category. At the same time, my husband is also an actor, which makes it great because we understand each other's lives. But that being said, I still think the most important thing is that your partner appreciates that you know what floats your boat. They don't have to completely understand it, but I do think they should like that you like it, right?
Yeah, totally.
Does that make sense? Did I just talk in circles?
I would agree. Like they have to, when your career, because some people have jobs that are, their career is a job, not also their passion in life.
Right.
And for some people, it sounds like, Sam, you're somebody whose career and work is also something you're very passionate about. And it's something that in part defines you. And that is going to be, I think, imperative for your partner to appreciate and understand.
And love about you. I think the right person thinks that's great. I think the wrong person is threatened when someone loves a career or loves something other than them. But the right person thinks that's like one of the best things about you.
I know a lot of people who don't want to date, like a lot of people like in show business who are either actors or whatever that don't want to date other actors or whatever, and they want to get away from show business. And I get it. I get not wanting that because it's a really, it's such a complicated life, and it's such a up and down existence. But it also, no one's going to understand the ups and downs of your industry like somebody else in the industry.
Yeah, and a creative mind. I think
totally.
I think that's part of it too. It's like this creative mind and wanting to be passionate about what you do, and I think that's why I gravitate toward very creative people as well.
But I will say, whenever I meet another actor who's in a relationship with somebody who's not in show business, I am a little bit envious.
Really?
Not because I don't want to be with my partner. Of course I do. And
you're like, what is it like? What's stability like? Is it that idea?
What is it like to not, and what is it like for you? And I don't know, like, what is it like for you to have a partner who doesn't also have the ups and downs of being in show business, who's not also going through the ringer?
Well, a question for you, Sam. Let's ask you. So how important is it to you that your partner can relate to that creativity?
I think it is pretty important. I don't know. I mean, I think that's just maybe part of my struggle is like, if they can understand my mindset about things, that I think is what's important to me. So even if they're not doing the same thing as me, if they can understand kind of where my mind goes and, understands maybe some, like you guys said, some of the struggles, some of the ups and downs, and very much empathize with that. I think that's something I'm still figuring out.
Yeah.
But maybe that's not a creative or not creative thing. That's just the alchemy of two people, right? Like, it's like whether or not this other person is creative, to me, it's less that than more of like, how much do they get you and everything that makes you tick. And so I don't know it's so much about what they do for a living or with their time. It's how much they understand you as a human.
Can I ask Sam, is there anybody in particular right now that this is about?
No one in particular.
It's a hypothetical.
Hypothetical.
No, because
hypothetical.
So if that's the case, I have very creative people in a creative business, but they're not necessarily the creative minds. So I wouldn't like label it in terms of someone in a creative profession. That doesn't mean necessarily that they will or will not understand you any better.
Right.
I don't know. I think all that is to say is it really depends on the human, not necessarily their profession. Right?
I think that's... Yeah. That resonates with me too. Yeah, I mean, it's a hypothetical question, but I have found myself on dates recently where this pops up in my mind.
And you're on the dates, are you like, this person is so boring?
Thankfully I haven't had that bad of a date recently. Okay. But no, I think I just find myself wondering, especially if they aren't doing anything similar to me or aren't really in a creative industry, just, I wonder how much they will really get that my passions are like my North Star and just sort of get that mindset.
But I think on the date or when you're getting to know these people, you'll know if they're like, oh my God, tell me about this thing that I know nothing about. It's sort of their interest in your passion is more important than their passions themselves, right? Like, tell me all about basket weaving or whatever the thing is that you want to, like whatever lights you up. What I would hope for is someone who thinks that's great that you have those things. It's not really about if they know about those things.
Yeah.
I think I'm
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And that does resonate with me.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like that's a baseline. You got to at least appreciate the things that I'm appreciating. You don't want to be dating a Philistine who just like doesn't care about movies.
That's true.
Doesn't even want to watch movies. But it's, and I think I think it's going to be the person, not the kind of person, not the profession of a person.
Yeah, the heart of a person.
Of course, we're both with actors, so it's
I know,
we're sort
easier
of like,
to say.
We're like a little bit biased. But,
yeah. Good luck, Sam. Though I think you're going to find your human.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
and
guys.
Good luck in the business of show with movies and stuff. It's very exciting.
Thank you. So anytime I have a problem, I'm just going to call you guys.
Please
up.
do.
You got the number
every time.
Thank you both.
Bye, Sam.
Bye.
Bye.
That was nice.
That was very sweet. Do you ever feel like ill-equipped to give any advice ever to humans?
Well,
sometimes I do.
Of course. I absolutely.
Because we're both
I definitely feel.
We're both married to actors.
I feel that. No, I often feel that you're ill-equipped to give advice.
Well, it's funny because I'm like, I think I've been married for 20 years. This year, oh my God, 20 years this year.
Oh my God.
So when people talk about dating, I'm like, they're talking about like apps.
Yes.
Like I don't think texting existed when I met Chris. No, it did. It like barely did, but it's such a different planet.
Ryan and I met.
During Ugly Betty, you guys met.
We did.
I remember.
Yeah. We ran in yesterday. So we met before the apps. Basically, right before.
Thank God.
Yes.
I'd be so bad at those
but
apps.
Yesterday, and sometimes we'll meet young couples and we've become role models. And it's even like telling people, like one of our very closest friends was in high school when Ryan and I started dating.
That's crazy.
So like we have younger friends that like have a totally different, it's just time is such a crazy thing. But where we were in our lives when we got together, sometimes I look at him and I think nothing's changed.
Right.
And yet
so much has changed.
So much has changed.
Well, I think we should end by saying something nice about each other.
I think that's a really good idea. You go first.
Okay. So when I think of you, how many years ago did we meet?
Almost 18.
18 years ago. I think
or
you
almost
are
19?
So the same, but you are so much more settled in who you are. Like you've grown into the most beautiful version of yourself. Not to say that you weren't beautiful. Like I just feel like we were both so new to so many things, and I'm looking at who you've become as a human, and it's amazing to see. It's a nice thing to see.
Well, ditto. When I met you, you didn't have children, and you were kind of a newlywed even.
Yes, I was actually.
But you didn't have children, so you have also blossomed as a person. But I would say that you have become such a pro as a business.
Me?
Yes.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000% you.
Really? Wow.
Yes, you are such a. You know exactly what you need, and you know how to
cinnamon buns.
Walk onto a set or into a like this gig. You're just so. Whereas I think you have. Sometimes I think that I'm still like a novice at the business, and you are perfect. You have such great insights, and it makes me think you could have done anything.
Oh.
You could have become any kind of professional and succeeded.
Thank you.
That was
Michael.
A really nice.
That
one.
was so nice. I want to just file that away for the rest of the day. So everyone, come back and stay ugly.
Stay ugly, y'all. Stay ugly.
Still Ugly is filmed at Rabbit Grin Studios.
Produced by Rabbit Grin Productions.
Music by the one and only Jeff Beal.
Executive produced by Rob Hollis, Jeff Porter, Natalie Hollis.
Creative producer, Jesse Thurston.
Video edit and mix master by Chris Fowler.